Success is not for the chosen few. It is for those who take immediate action toward their desires. This truth would become Napoleon Hill's guiding principle. But first he had to learn it through his own struggles with poverty, doubt, and the paralyzing fear of taking action. His journey from a mountain boy in rural Virginia to the world's most influential success philosopher began with one crucial decision: to stop thinking and start doing. In 1908, Napoleon Hill was a struggling young journalist, barely 25 years old, working for small-town magazines that paid little more than survival wages. Born into poverty in the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia, Hill had grown up watching his family scrape by, his father working tirelessly just to keep food on the table. The weight of his circumstances pressed down on him like the heavy mountain fog that often shrouded his childhood home. Hill spent countless hours reading about successful men, studying their biographies, and dreaming of a different life. He filled notebook after notebook with ideas, plans, and aspirations. But when it came to taking action toward his bigger dreams, fear held him back like invisible chains. What if I fail? He thought as he sat in his cramped apartment, surrounded by rejection letters from publishers. What if I'm not smart enough? What if I'm destined to remain poor forever? He felt trapped between his burning desire for success and the harsh reality of his circumstances. Hill had become an expert at planning and dreaming, but he had never learned the most crucial lesson of all: action is the foundational key to all success. His small apartment was filled with evidence of his good intentions: stacks of books, detailed outlines for articles that were never written, and business plans that never left the page. The turning point came when Hill received an assignment that would change everything: to interview the steel magnate Andrew Carnegie for a magazine article. As he prepared for the interview, Hill felt the familiar grip of fear. Carnegie was one of the wealthiest men in America, a titan of industry who had built an empire from nothing. What could a poor mountain boy possibly say to such a man? But Hill made a decision that night. Instead of approaching the interview as just another magazine assignment, he would treat it as the opportunity of a lifetime. He wouldn't just ask the standard questions about business, he would seek to understand the real secrets of Carnegie's success. The starting point of all achievement is desire, Hill wrote in his journal the night before the interview, and I have that desire burning inside me like a fire. The next morning, Hill took the train to Carnegie's mansion, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and terror. As he sat across from the steel magnate in his ornate office, Hill made a bold decision that would define his entire future. Instead of sticking to his prepared questions, he leaned forward and said, "Mr. Carnegie, I believe there's a philosophy of success that could be documented and shared with the world. Would you be willing to help me uncover it?" Carnegie studied the young man for what felt like an eternity. Then, to Hill's amazement, the steel magnate smiled. "Young man, I've been waiting for someone to ask me that question. I'll give you letters of introduction to the most successful people in America. But here's the catch: you'll receive no payment for this work. You'll have to support yourself while you research and write. Are you willing to commit 20 years of your life to this project?" Hill's mind raced. 20 years? No guaranteed income? The practical voice in his head screamed that this was madness. He had bills to pay, a family to support, a stable career to consider. But something deeper, that burning desire he had felt his entire life, spoke louder than his fears. "Yes," Hill said without hesitation. "I accept." In that moment, Hill learned his first crucial lesson about success: don't wait. The time will never be just right. He had been waiting for the perfect opportunity, the perfect circumstances, the perfect moment to begin his real work. But Carnegie's offer came with no guarantees, no safety net, and no assurance of success. It required immediate action based on faith alone. From that day forward, Hill transformed from a dreamer into a doer. He began what would become the most comprehensive study of success ever undertaken, interviewing over 500 of America's most successful individuals. But the journey was far from easy. There were months when Hill could barely afford food, times when he questioned whether he had made a terrible mistake in accepting Carnegie's challenge. The real test came during Hill's third year of research. He had interviewed dozens of successful people, filled countless notebooks with insights, but had yet to publish anything substantial. Creditors were knocking at his door, friends and family questioned his sanity, and the practical world seemed to be screaming at him to abandon this foolish pursuit and get a real job. Hill remembered sitting in his sparse apartment one cold winter night, staring at a pile of unpaid bills, feeling the weight of 3 years of sacrifice pressing down on him. Every logical voice in his head told him to quit, to return to the safety of regular employment. But then he remembered something Thomas Edison had told him during their interview: the only limitation is the one you set for yourself. That night, Hill made another crucial decision. Instead of giving up, he would double down on his commitment. He wrote in his journal, "I am going to complete this work and I will persist until I succeed, no matter how long it takes or how difficult it becomes." He set a specific deadline: he would have his first book completed within 2 years. Action is the real measure of intelligence, Hill reminded himself as he began working 18-hour days, writing, researching, and refining his philosophy. He didn't wait for inspiration or perfect conditions. He simply showed up every day and did the work, even when he didn't feel like it, especially when he didn't feel like it. The breakthrough came during Hill's interview with Henry Ford. As they discussed the principles of success, Ford said something that crystallized everything Hill had been learning: most people wait until everything is perfect to take action. But the truth is, progress is made in the doing. Every small action moves you closer to your goal, and massive action creates unstoppable momentum. Hill realized that his years of struggle and persistence had been building something extraordinary. Every interview, every setback, every moment of doubt had been preparing him for something bigger than he had initially imagined. He wasn't just writing a book, he was documenting a philosophy that could transform millions of lives. "Do not wait to strike till the iron is hot, but make it hot by striking" became Hill's operating principle as he pushed through the final stages of his research. Even when publishers rejected his early manuscripts, even when critics dismissed his work as too optimistic, Hill persisted with unwavering determination. The persistence paid off when Think and Grow Rich was finally published in 1937. But Hill knew that the book's success wasn't due to luck or timing. It was the direct result of taking massive action despite uncertainty, fear, and overwhelming obstacles. He had learned that persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel. Years later, as Hill reflected on his journey from poverty to becoming one of the most influential authors in history, he understood that everything had changed the moment he stopped waiting for perfect conditions and started taking action. His interview with Carnegie hadn't just been a career opportunity, it had been a test of his willingness to act on his deepest desires despite having no guarantee of success. Hill had gone from dreaming about success to creating a blueprint that would help millions of others achieve their own dreams. He had transformed from someone who planned and hoped into someone who acted and achieved. And it all began with one crucial decision: to say yes when opportunity knocked, even though he felt completely unprepared. The young mountain boy who had once felt trapped by his circumstances had become living proof of his own philosophy. Hill had discovered that success wasn't reserved for the naturally gifted or the well-connected. It belonged to those who were willing to take immediate, persistent action toward their definite purpose. Success is the result of clear thinking and massive, consistent action. Hill would later write, remembering those crucial moments when he chose action over comfort, faith over fear, and persistence over the easy path of giving up. Hill's legacy wasn't just in the books he wrote or the people he influenced directly. It was in proving that ordinary people could achieve extraordinary things by learning to take action despite their fears, doubts, and circumstances. He had shown the world that the distance between dreaming and achieving was measured not in years or luck, but in the courage to take the first step and keep moving forward. Don't wait for opportunities to knock. Create them with action and success will follow.